Ladies and gentlemen, fellow travelers of the inner world, we have been warned. Not by prophets, not by omens in the sky, but by something far closer. Something that walks among us, unnoticed until it is too late. The cat enters without knocking. It does not ask permission. One day your home is yours. The next there is a presence, soft-footed, golden-eyed, moving through your space as if it has always belonged there. You may tell yourself you chose this creature, that you brought it willingly across your threshold. But this is merely the ego's comforting lie. The truth is far more unsettling. The cat chooses you, just as certain thoughts and dreams choose to enter your consciousness whether we invite them or not. Consider how effortlessly it infiltrates your private world. At first it's just a shadow. At the edge of your vision, a flicker of movement down the hallway when you thought you were alone. Then it becomes more brazen. A weight at the foot of your bed in the dead of night. A pair of unblinking eyes observing you from the bookshelf as you work. Before long, it has rearranged your habits, your furniture, even your sleep. You buy it, special foods, clear spaces for its rest, adjust your routines to accommodate its whims. How like the unconscious it is, this silent invader that slips past our defenses when we're least vigilant. We imagine ourselves masters of our domain, both physically and psychologically. Yet here comes this creature that bypasses all our locks and alarms. It makes itself at home in the corners of our minds before we even realize it has arrived, just as repressed memories and ignored instincts do. The cat doesn't force entry. It simply walks through the open doors of our inattention, finding the cracks in our carefully constructed personas. There's a reason we speak of something catching our eye, or coming to our attention. The cat embodies this very process of unconscious content rising to awareness. It moves through our domestic world with the same quiet insistence as a half-remembered dream upon waking, or a sudden intuition we can't explain. We may try to ignore it, to pretend we don't see it sitting there watching us, but its presence remains. A living reminder that not everything in our house, or our psyche, answers to our conscious will. The most disturbing realization isn't that the cat has entered our home, but that it was always meant to be there. Its arrival feels less like an invasion, and more like the return of something we'd forgotten we lost. When we finally notice it curled up in our favorite chair or staring at us from the shadows, we experience not just surprise, but a strange sense of recognition, as if some part of us knew this moment was coming all along. In the liminal spaces between waking and dreaming, between the sacred and the profane, the cat moves as a silent conductor of unseen realities. Ancient civilizations understood this creature not as mere companion, but as psychopomp, that mystical guide who walks the razor's edge between worlds. The Egyptians carved their likeness in alabaster and gold, placing them at the thresholds of temples and tombs. Norse mythology tells of Freya's chariot pulled by spectral felines carrying souls between realms. Even today, when your domestic tabby fixes its gaze on some invisible point in empty air, hairs rise on the back of your neck. What arcane knowledge flickers behind those vertically slit pupils? What unseen procession of spirits does it witness while you go about your mundane tasks? This creature exists simultaneously in multiple dimensions, physically present, yet psychically attuned to frequencies beyond human perception. Watch how it navigates your home, pausing suddenly at certain doorways, refusing to enter particular rooms at specific times, reacting to energies we cannot detect. The cat doesn't merely live in your house. It patrols the borders between your constructed reality and the numinous world just beyond the veil. Its midnight yowls aren't random disturbances, but ritual invocations in a language we've forgotten. Those inexplicable bursts of frenetic energy? They're not just play, but sacred dances performed at the crossroads of material and spiritual planes. Consider the precision of its movements, how it always seems to appear exactly when needed, whether to interrupt a troubling train of thought or to break the tension in a room. The cat doesn't arrive by accident any more than a meaningful dream does. It comes as an embodied synchronicity, a living symbol of the interconnectedness we've been trained to ignore. When it curls into your lap during moments of sorrow or illness, it's not simply seeking warmth. It's performing an ancient healing ritual, channeling energies we no longer have names for. Its purr resonates at frequencies known to promote tissue regeneration, as if this creature remembers what modern medicine is only beginning to rediscover. The true shock comes when we realize the cat isn't visiting our world. We're visitors in its world. It allows us to believe we're the masters of the house, humoring our illusions of control while quietly maintaining the true order of things. Those times when it disappears for hours only to return without explanation, it hasn't been hiding under the porch. It's been attending to business in realms we cannot fathom. The food we put in its bowl isn't sustenance. It's an offering, a token payment for services rendered in keeping the darkness at bay. When you awaken to find it staring at you intently in the pre-dawn gloom, understand this. You're not being watched. You're being assessed, measured against some inscrutable standard known only to the feline guardians of the threshold. The cat moves through your home like a living shadow, not the absence of light, but a different quality of darkness, entirely. Its silent paws leave no mark upon your floors, yet its presence etches itself into the very architecture of your psyche. You may believe you've domesticated this creature, tamed it with bowls of food and cushioned beds, but this is the grandest self-deception of all. The truth prowls just beneath the surface of your awareness. The cat has never been, and will never be, under your control. It tolerates your affection on its own terms, accepts your service with regal indifference, and reminds you daily that your so-called mastery of your environment is nothing more than a comforting fiction. Watch how it embodies the shadow with perfect, terrifying grace. When it toys with its prey, that cruel, exquisite dance between life and death, you recoil not just from the violence, but from the recognition of something familiar. That same primal energy pulses in your own veins, buried beneath layers of civilization and propriety. The cat's unapologetic nature mirrors what you've been taught to suppress. The raw, unfiltered expression of instinct, desire, and will. Its midnight yowls shatter the polite silence of your carefully constructed world, vocalizations that seem to come from some ancient pre-linguistic part of your own brain. You call it misbehavior when it scratches your furniture, but what you're truly witnessing is nature refusing to be constrained by your domestic fantasies. Consider its eyes, those luminous pools that reflect back not your image, but your essence. In their depths you glimpse the parts of yourself you've disowned, the selfishness you deny, the independence you've sacrificed, the wildness you've forgotten. The cat doesn't judge these qualities. It simply is them, wholly and without contradiction. Its very existence in your sanitized world serves as a constant, living reminder that no amount of social conditioning can erase what lives in the blood and bone. When it stares at you with that inscrutable gaze, you're not being examined. You're being revealed to yourself, stripped of pretenses and laid bare before a consciousness that recognizes no masks. The most unsettling truth emerges slowly. Like dawn light creeping across the floor, the cat isn't merely an animal sharing your space. It's a manifestation of everything you've tried to wall off, the untamed self you've locked away in the name of being civilized. Its sudden appearances and disappearances mirror how repressed aspects of psyche surface unexpectedly, disrupting our carefully maintained equilibrium. Those moments when it bites the hand that pets it aren't acts of aggression, but lessons in boundaries and authenticity. The cat lives with absolute integrity to its nature, while we spend our lives performing versions of ourselves designed to please others. Its presence in your home isn't an accident. It's a living invitation to remember what you truly are beneath the layers of shoulds and oughts. I awoke with a start, my skin prickling with the electric awareness of being watched. Moonlight pooled on the floorboards like spilled mercury, and there, perched on the dresser like a pagan idol, sat the cat. Not my cat, for no human truly owns such a creature, but the cat that had begun appearing in my home with unsettling regularity. Its eyes caught the pale light, glowing with an otherworldly luminescence that seemed to pierce through my fragile veneer of rationality. In that suspended moment between sleep and waking, when the barriers between worlds grow thin, it spoke. Not with words that vibrated the air, but with concepts that took root directly in my mind, bypassing language entirely. "You build your walls so high," it whispered into the silence of my skull. "But you forget, I climb." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. This was no chance encounter, no random animal wandering in from the cold. The cat had come with purpose, as all meaningful visitations do. It had slipped past my defenses, both those of my home and those of my mind, to deliver a message I had spent years avoiding. The details of my turmoil matter less than the essence. I had been living half a life, denying the wild, intuitive parts of myself in favor of a safer, more acceptable existence. The cat, with its unapologetic authenticity, was the mirror I couldn't turn away from. In the days that followed, I began to notice its influence everywhere. It would appear at moments of decision, sitting judgmentally on the edge of my desk as I waffled over choices, its tail flicking with impatience at my hesitation. It knocked over carefully arranged items, not out of clumsiness, but as if to say, "Your order is an illusion." When I tried to ignore it, it would leap onto my lap with sudden, insistent weight, demanding attention like a forgotten truth resurfacing. And at night, it would patrol the perimeter of my bedroom, a silent sentinel guarding against the things that go bump in the psyche. The shock wasn't that the cat had entered my life, but that it had always been there, waiting for me to acknowledge it. Its sudden visibility was a symptom of my own readiness, or perhaps my desperation to face what I'd buried. The more I observed it, the more I understood. This creature was no mere pet. It was an agent of the unconscious, a living symbol of the instincts and intuitions I'd tried to domesticate within myself. Its presence was a challenge, an invitation, and a reckoning all at once. And then, one evening, as I sat staring into the fireplace, the cat settled beside me. It didn't demand affection or food. It simply sat, its gaze fixed on the flames, as if seeing something in the dance of light and shadow that I could not. In that quiet communion, I felt it, the shift. The cat had not come to haunt me. It had come to teach me how to stop haunting myself. We drape our homes in the comforting illusion of domestication. Plush sofas, curated bookshelves, smart devices that respond to our every command. We tell ourselves we've mastered our environment, that we've banished the wild unknown beyond our well-insulated walls. Yet the cat moves through these carefully constructed spaces like a living paradox, exposing the lie at the heart of our domestic fantasy. It doesn't destroy our illusion through violence, but through its mere existence. A sleek, self-possessed creature that refuses to conform to our expectations of obedience and order. Watch how it treats your most prized possessions with casual indifference. That antique vase from your grandmother? Merely a potential plaything. The important documents on your desk? Ideal for sharpening claws. The cat doesn't rebel against your notions of value. It exists entirely outside them, operating on a different system of meaning altogether. In doing so, it reveals the arbitrary nature of our own hierarchies, the fragile constructs we mistake for fundamental truths. Its nonchalant disregard for our precious things becomes a silent critique of our attachments, a living demonstration of how little control we truly have. The greatest deception isn't that we've domesticated cats, but that we've convinced ourselves we ever could. We fill our homes with their images, cute figurines, whimsical artwork, internet memes, as if by reducing them to decoration we might tame their essential nature. Yet the real cat remains gloriously untamed, watching our feeble attempts at control with what can only be described as amused contempt. It accepts our offerings of food and shelter not as submission, but as tribute rightly paid to a superior being. When it rubs against your legs or curls in your lap, it's not affection as we understand it. It's marking you as its territory, claiming you even as you believe yourself the owner. Consider the cat's daily routines, its sudden bursts of manic energy, its hours of motionless observation, its precise rituals of grooming and territory marking. These aren't merely animal behaviors, but embodied philosophies. The cat doesn't worry about productivity or self-improvement. It simply is, with an existential purity that shames our neurotic striving. Its ability to be fully present in each moment, whether stalking a sunbeam or staring unblinking at nothing, shows up our constant distraction, our relentless mental time travel between regret and anticipation. The cat doesn't meditate, it becomes meditation, and when night falls, the true nature of the household reveals itself. While you sleep, the cat patrols its domain, your domain in daylight hours only. It watches over you not as a pet, but as a guardian of thresholds, standing sentry between the world of reason and the realm of shadow. Those times you wake to find it staring at you in the dark, its eyes catching stray light like polished coins, it's not waiting to be fed. It's assessing whether you're ready to acknowledge the truth, that your carefully constructed domesticity is just a story you tell yourself, and the cat is here to tear that story apart, one silent footfall at a time. Our homes are not merely physical structures but psychological landscapes, carefully constructed theaters where we perform our domesticated selves. The walls we paint in soothing colors, the furniture arranged just so, the curated shelves displaying our cultivated tastes, all elaborate stage sets designed to convince both visitors and ourselves that we have achieved mastery over chaos. Yet the cat moves through this performance space like a living critique, exposing the fragile artifice of our civilized facades with every nonchalant leap onto forbidden surfaces, every deliberate knock of a precious keepsake from its perch. This creature exists as a permanent dissonance in our symphony of order. Where we value cleanliness, it tracks invisible wilderness across our floors in the form of paw prints only the soul can see. Where we cherish quiet, it vocalizes with unsettling, guttural cries that seem to originate from some pre-linguistic realm. Where we prize obedience, it offers us the unapologetic authenticity of its nature, staring back at our commands with the calm assurance of something that has never needed permission to exist. The cat doesn't disrupt our domestic harmony so much as reveal that no such harmony ever truly existed beyond our desperate pretense. Watch how it claims space with the absolute certainty of a being that has never doubted its right to exist. The cat doesn't ask for a place at your hearth. It takes one, stretching its body across your work, your bed, your lap, with the sublime indifference of a creature utterly secure in its own worth. In doing so, it holds up a mirror to our own hesitant, apologetic way of moving through the world, our constant seeking of permission, our endless self-diminishment to fit into spaces never meant to contain our full being. The cat's territorial confidence becomes a silent accusation, a wordless challenge. Why have you made yourself so small? The most profound rebellion occurs in the quiet moments. When you find it sitting in your chair like a furry usurper, gazing at you with that inscrutable expression, you're not simply being denied a seat. You're being invited to consider who really belongs where. When it turns its back on expensive toys to play with a crumpled paper ball, you're witnessing a rejection of your value system in favor of simpler, purer joys. These are not mere animal behaviors, but philosophical statements delivered through the medium of fur and claw, a continuous low-level insurrection against the tyranny of human seriousness. At night, when the human world sleeps, the cat's true work begins. It moves through the darkened house like a four-legged philosopher, testing the boundaries of reality with each cautious step. Those mysterious midnight noises, the skittering, the thumps, the unearthly yowls, aren't merely random activities but the sound of your carefully constructed reality being stress-tested. The cat becomes the embodiment of all the thoughts you refuse to think during daylight hours, all the instincts you've learned to suppress, all the wildness you've tried to domesticate within yourself. Its nighttime patrols are a reminder that the borders of your carefully maintained world are far more permeable than you dare admit. The night belongs to the cats. When human eyes grow heavy with manufactured sleep, when our electric lights dim and our incessant thinking finally stills, that's when they begin their true work. You've heard them. Those otherworldly yowls that slice through the stillness like shards of broken glass. Not the plaintive cries of hunger, but something far more ancient. Vocalizations that seem to echo from some primordial past when cats weren't pets, but sacred intermediaries between worlds. These midnight serenades aren't random noise pollution, but part of an elaborate nocturnal ritual we're not initiated into. Watch them move through moonlit rooms with liquid grace, their pupils wide as black moons absorbing all light and meaning. Where daytime cats lounge and doze, their nighttime counterparts become something else entirely. Sleek shadows with purpose, conducting some inscrutable business that demands perfect silence and absolute darkness. They pause at certain thresholds, ears twitching to frequencies beyond human hearing, tails lashing at disturbances in energies we cannot perceive. That intense staring at empty corners isn't vacancy but vigilance. They're standing guard against things we've forgotten how to fear. Their nighttime hyperactivity isn't mere play but ceremonial combat with unseen forces. When your cat suddenly arches its back at nothing, when it pounces on invisible prey in the 3 a.m. gloom, it's not entertaining itself. It's performing an exorcism on your behalf. Those frantic dashes up and down hallways trace protective patterns older than your house's foundations. The way they suddenly freeze mid-motion, muscles taut as bowstrings, isn't whimsy but response to presences at the periphery of reality's veil. Consider their sleeping patterns, those hours of deep, twitching slumber when their paws knead invisible landscapes and their whiskers tremble at dream sense. They're not resting but traveling, their spirits roaming realms we can only access through carefully cultivated trance states or potent psychedelics. When they startle awake with wide, knowing eyes, they return bearing wisdom we're too dense to comprehend. That intense morning gaze they fix upon you, it's not a breakfast demand but an attempt to communicate what they've witnessed in the night country. The most unsettling truth reveals itself in those rare moments when you catch them at their rituals. When you wake unexpectedly to find them sitting motionless at the foot of your bed, staring at you with an intensity that feels like an assessment. When you enter a room to discover them arranged in impossible symmetry, perfectly centered in a circle of moonlight perhaps, or aligned with geometric precision to architectural features you've never noticed. These aren't coincidences but demonstrations, proof that they navigate a hidden order behind our visible world, a secret architecture to which they alone hold the keys. Across civilizations and epochs, the cat has occupied a singular space in the human psyche, simultaneously revered and reviled, worshipped as divine and burned as demonic. This paradoxical status reveals not some feline duality, but rather the schism in our own collective soul. The ancient Egyptians didn't merely keep cats as pets, they recognized them as living manifestations of Bastet, goddess of protection, pleasure, and the moon's secret wisdom. Norse mythology tells of Freya's chariot drawn by 2 massive gray cats, gifts from Thor himself. In Japanese folklore, the Bakaneko shapeshifts between cat and human form, while Malay legends speak of the Harimau Jadian, tiger spirits who take feline form to walk unnoticed among humans. This global tapestry of myth and fear points to an uncomfortable truth. We've never been comfortable with creatures that look upon our civilized pretenses with such obvious amusement. The medieval witch trials exposed our deepest terror of feline autonomy. When accused witches confessed to receiving their familiars as gifts from the devil, they described a precise ritual. The demon would appear as a cat, make unreasonable demands, then gradually transform into a humanoid companion. Historians focus on the persecution narrative but miss the psychological truth buried in these testimonies, the recognition that feline influence represents an irrevocable surrender of control. The witches' descriptions mirror exactly how domestic cats claim they're humans today, through incremental demands, first the bed, then the pillow, then your very breath as they settle on your chest at night, through their uncanny ability to make eye contact that feels like possession, through their slow transformation from pet to overlord. The Inquisition didn't invent these stories. They codified our ancestral memory of what happens when cats decide to adopt a household. Modern secular society has merely dressed this ancient tension in new costumes. Our internet obsession with cat videos represents not just amusement, but a ritualized way of processing our uneasy relationship with these creatures. Watch how the most viral clips always showcase feline defiance. Cats knocking over objects, ignoring commands, startling at invisible threats. These aren't just funny animal antics, but symbolic reenactments of the power dynamic that has always existed between our species. The humor masks a deeper recognition. We are not the trainers in this relationship. Even our language betrays us. We say own a cat, the way we might say own the moon, with absurd presumption masking primal awe. Scientific attempts to explain away feline mystique only deepen the mystery. Those studies showing cats recognize their names but choose to ignore them? The research demonstrating domestic cats' purrs contain frequencies that promote bone regeneration and wound healing? The documented cases of cats traveling hundreds of miles to return to homes they've never seen? Each new discovery doesn't demystify, but adds layers to the enigma, proving what ancients knew instinctively. These creatures operate on rules we barely comprehend. Even their basic physiology defies explanation. Their ability to always land on their feet isn't just physical agility, but what appears to be a temporary suspension of natural law, a micro-rebellion against physics itself. The moment of shock arrives not with a dramatic revelation, but in a quiet instant of perfect clarity. Perhaps when you're lying awake at 3:17 a.m., the cat's weight like a living paperweight on your chest, its rhythmic purr vibrating through your sternum. In that suspended hour between night and morning when reality's edges soften, the truth settles upon you with the gentle inevitability of falling snow. You are not the owner, the master, or even the primary occupant of your home. You are the willing participant in an elaborate charade, a carefully maintained fiction that allows you to preserve the illusion of control while the cat goes about its true business. This realization doesn't come as a betrayal, but as a homecoming, the quiet joy of surrendering to a deeper order. Watch how your daily routines have subtly rearranged themselves around the cat's preferences. The chair you no longer sit in because it prefers to sleep there, the specific spot on the couch where you've learned to leave just enough space, the way you automatically check for its presence before closing any door. These aren't compromises but rituals, sacred acts of devotion performed without conscious thought. The food bowls you fill, the toys you replace, the vet visits you schedule. These aren't chores but offerings, part of an ancient contract written in the language of instinct and sealed with purrs. The cat's most profound teaching lies in its absolute authenticity. Unlike humans who wear different faces for different occasions, the cat possesses an undivided self. Its affection isn't given as currency for favors. Its anger isn't suppressed for social harmony. Its desires aren't tempered by guilt or obligation. When it loves completely, pressing its whole body against you with total abandon. When it's displeased, it leaves no doubt. Ears flattened, teeth bared, every hair charged with electric honesty. This unfiltered existence holds up a mirror to our own fractured selves, showing us what we might have been before we learned to dissemble, to perform, to hide our true nature beneath layers of should and must. And yet, for all its wild integrity, the cat chooses to stay. This is the final, most shocking revelation, that this perfect, self-contained being elects to share your space, your life, your energy. Not from need, but from some inscrutable feline calculus that balances your warmth against its independence, your affection against its solitude. When it curls into the hollow behind your knees at night, or butts its head against your shin while you're cooking dinner, it's performing a daily miracle, bridging the unthinkable gap between wildness and domesticity, between its eternal feline mystery and your clumsy human love. The cat could leave any time through an open door into the woods back to whatever dimension it truly comes from, but it stays. And in that staying, it offers the most precious gift of all, not its companionship, but the revelation that you are worthy of it. The call to wholeness comes not as a thunderclap, but as the silent pressure of a cat's paw against your cheek at dawn. This is how transformation happens, not through dramatic epiphanies, but through the daily practice of surrender to something wiser than our rational minds. The cat doesn't demand your awakening. It simply creates the conditions where awakening becomes inevitable, where your fragmented self can no longer maintain its careful divisions between wild and tame, between instinct and intellect, between the self you present to the world and the self you've forgotten in the shadows. Watch how the cat moves through your life like a living algorithm of integration. It doesn't judge your contradictions. It embodies them. One moment, a ruthless hunter disemboweling its prey with surgical precision. The next, a purring bundle of warmth curled in the hollow of your arm. It shows no cognitive dissonance between these extremes, no existential angst about its nature. The cat simply is, wholly present in each incarnation, whether as killer or comforter, aloof observer or needy attention seeker. In its seamless shifting between these modes lies your lesson, the parts of yourself you've tried to disown, your aggression, your vulnerability, your selfishness, your tenderness, aren't flaws to eradicate but notes in the chord of your complete being. The integration happens in the small moments, when you stop scolding yourself for wanting both connection and solitude, recognizing the cat's perfect rhythm of approach and retreat. When you honor your hunger without shame, as the cat does, when it demands food with unapologetic cries, when you protect your boundaries with the same quiet ferocity the cat shows when it bites the hand that pets too long. These aren't behaviors to emulate, but mirrors in which to recognize your own suppressed wholeness. The cat doesn't teach you how to be. It shows you what you already are beneath the layers of conditioning, and when resistance arises, when you balk at the raw edges of your own nature, the cat persists. It brings its kills to your doorstep not to disgust you, but to force confrontation with life's bloody truth. It disrupts your sleep not to torment you, but to remind you that some truths only emerge in the dark. It ignores your calls not to spite you, but to demonstrate that love needn't mean obedience. Every irritating habit, every inconvenience, every moment of feline misbehavior is in fact a carefully calibrated initiation, a test of your willingness to embrace the full spectrum of existence, from the beautiful to the messy, from the comfortable to the unsettling. The final stage of integration comes when you realize the cat hasn't been transforming you at all. It's been revealing what was always there, the wild wisdom in your bones, the ancient knowledge in your cells, the instinctual intelligence that hums beneath your thoughts. The cat hasn't made you whole. It's simply shown you where to look for the pieces you discarded. And when at last you gather them up, not with shame but with the quiet pride of a cat grooming its fur, you'll understand why the ancients worshipped these creatures as gods. Not because cats are divine, but because they remember what divinity feels like to inhabit. A perfect, unapologetic belonging to oneself. A sacred wholeness that needs no justification beyond its own existence. And so we arrive at the final truth, the cue, one the cat has been patiently waiting for us to discover. It did not come to frighten us, nor to dominate us, nor even to humble us. It came to remind us that we too carry wildness in our veins, that the walls we've built, around our homes, around our hearts, were never meant to keep life out, but to give us the illusion that we could. The cat does not tear down those walls. It simply steps over them, effortless and unconcerned, showing us that the barriers were ours alone. And here, now, is the choice before you. Will you heed the warning? Will you listen to what the cat has been trying to tell you, not in words, but in the unblinking gaze, the flick of a tail, the weight of its body pressed against you in the dark? It is not a pet. It never was. It is a mirror, a teacher, a keeper of thresholds. And if you let it, if you dare to meet its eyes and see what it has seen in you all along, it will shock you, not with fear, but with recognition. The wild was never outside, it was within you, waiting, and now at last you remember. Thank you.